I saw the moment your hands shook as you signed those final papers, and I felt the exact second your heart shattered into 1,000 pieces when you realized the dream you built with your bare hands had finally crumbled. My beloved child, I was there in the hollow silence of that empty office, standing beside you as you turned off the lights for the very last time. I watched you walk to your car, the weight of the world pressing down on your shoulders, and I heard every unspoken scream of your soul as you wondered how you would ever tell your family, how you would ever survive the debt, and how you could possibly face another morning. You feel like a failure, branded by the sting of loss and the cold judgment of a world that only measures worth in profits and losses. But I am not the world. I am your father, and I have never once looked at your bank balance to determine your value. In the kingdom of my heart, your worth is infinite, and this moment of ending is not a tomb, but a womb where something far more beautiful is being formed. Even now, in the midst of your 6868 season, a specific spiritual coordinate of transition I have set aside for you, I am working. Do not let the anxiety of tomorrow rob you of the peace I am offering you today. I know you are staring at the numbers, calculating the distance between what you have and what you owe, feeling the walls close in as the phone calls and the notices pile up. I see the shame that tries to wrap itself around you like a heavy cloak, telling you that you are less than, that you are a mistake, that you have wasted years of your life. But listen to my voice. I do not waste anything. Every sleepless night, every drop of sweat you poured into that venture, every hard lesson learned in the dark, I have gathered them all. They are the seeds of your coming restoration. This failure was not a surprise to me, nor was it a punishment. It was a redirection, a pruning of the branches that were keeping you from the orchard of your true destiny. You were holding onto a branch that could no longer support the weight of the glory I want to manifest through you. I let it break so that I could catch you, and in this falling, you will finally discover that my arms are the only foundation that never cracks. You feel lonely, as if the friends who cheered during your success have vanished into the shadows of your struggle. Let them go. I am clearing the path so that you can hear my whisper without the noise of their expectations. We are entering a sacred space together, a quiet wilderness where I will teach you the secrets of true abundance that no recession can touch and no bankruptcy can take away. You are worried about the what-ifs, the looming shadows of what the creditors will say or how you will provide. But I am the God who fed 5,000 with a few scraps. I am the God who brought water from a dry rock. Your provision does not come from a business name or a professional title. It comes from my hand, and my hand is open wide for you right now. I am clearing the debris of your past to make room for a structure that is fireproof and eternal. The miracle you are seeking is already in motion, but it requires you to stop looking at the wreckage behind you. You cannot build a new house while you are still mourning the ashes of the old one. Look up at me. Look into my eyes and see the pride I have for you, not for what you did, but for who you are. You survived the storm, and though you are battered, you are still standing because I am the one holding you upright. This 6868 season is your marker of completion. The cycle of loss is ending, and the cycle of supernatural recovery is beginning. It will not look like the old way. It will be better. It will be lighter. It will be filled with a joy that doesn't depend on a stock market or a sales report. I am restoring the years the locusts have eaten, and I am doing it with a precision that will leave you breathless with gratitude. You are not a failure. You are a student of the divine, and your greatest lesson is about to become your greatest testimony. Trust me in the silence. Trust me in the transition. I have already seen the end from the beginning, and the end of this story is not shame. It is a crown of beauty for your ashes. Rest your head, my child. The debt of your heart is paid, and your future is more secure than it has ever been because now, for the first time, it is built entirely on me. Look at the hands that once trembled over payroll spreadsheets and let them be still. You spent years measuring your worth by the height of your bank account and the length of your influence, but those measurements were always too small for the spirit I breathed into you. When the walls of your enterprise began to crumble, you thought it was an ending, but it was actually an opening, a clearing of the ground so that I could plant something eternal. Do you remember the midnight hours when the blue light of the monitor was the only thing illuminating your face? I was there in the shadows, not as a silent witness to your demise, but as a protective wall against the total destruction the enemy intended. You felt the sting of betrayal from partners who were only there for the harvest, but I have pruned your circle to ensure that the next season of growth is supported by roots of integrity and love. The desks may be sold, the inventory may be gone, and the keys may have been turned over to the bank, but the wisdom you gained in the furnace is a currency no market can devalue. I am recalibrating your vision. Where you once saw a graveyard of dreams, I want you to see a garden in its winter phase. The seeds of your next endeavor are already beneath the surface, protected by the very failure you mourned. I am removing the should-haves and could-haves from your vocabulary. They are heavy weights that I never asked you to carry. Feel the lightness of having nothing left to prove. For the first time in a decade, you do not have to wear the mask of the successful executive. You do not have to perform for the applause of men. I have brought you into this wilderness not to starve you, but to feed you the manna of my presence, which is the only thing that can truly satisfy the hunger you've tried to fill with accolades. Think of the peace that has begun to creep into your home during dinner, the way you are actually present with your family instead of calculating interest rates in the back of your mind. This is part of the recovery. I am restoring the father, the mother, the spouse, the friend, before I restore the entrepreneur. Your identity is being disentangled from your productivity. You are beloved simply because you are mine, not because of what you produce or provide. There is a specific grace being poured out over your bank statements even now. It will not arrive in the way you expect, through a sudden windfall or a return to the status quo. It will come through doors you haven't even noticed yet, through conversations that seemed accidental, and through creative ideas that only surface when the noise of the world is muted. I am teaching you the rhythm of the Sabbath, a rhythm that the business world tries to drown out. You will work again, and you will build again, but this time the labor will be easy, and the burden will be light because you will not be carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders. You will be walking in step with me. I have seen the tears you shed when you thought your children would lose their inheritance. I tell you today that the greatest inheritance you will leave them is a legacy of resilience and a faith that was tested in the fire and came out as gold. They are watching you not to see if you win, but to see how you trust. Your story is becoming a roadmap for others who will find themselves in the same valley. I am giving you the words to comfort those who are currently where you were 6 months ago. Your vulnerability is becoming your greatest asset. Do not hide the scars of this collapse. They are the credentials of your new ministry. I am turning your boardroom into a sanctuary. I am turning your loss into a treasury of wisdom. Look at the horizon of this transition. It feels like a fog, but it is actually the cloud of my glory leading you through the desert. You are safe. You are protected. You are being reinvented from the inside out. Let go of the need to understand the how and the when. My timing is an art form, and the masterpiece of your life is being painted with strokes of mercy that you cannot yet see. Breathe deeply. The air of this new season is cleaner than the smog of the old one. There is a quietness coming to your spirit that will allow you to hear my whisper clearly for the first time in years. This is not a delay. It is a divine pause. It is the indrawing of breath before the shout of victory. Rest in the knowledge that I am your provider, your shield, and your very great reward. The old ledgers are closed, and I have written, redeemed, across every page. Your future is not a repeat of your past. It is an upgrade of your soul's capacity to receive my goodness. You used to think strength was the ability to hold on, but I am showing you that true strength is the courage to let go and fall into my arms. Every missed opportunity was actually a redirected path, keeping you away from a mountain you were never meant to climb. The 6868 season is about the completion of the trial and the initiation of the triumph. The number 6 represents the labor of man, but the number 8 represents the new beginning that only I can provide. You have finished your 6 days of striving. Now, enter into my 8th day of supernatural grace. The resources you need are already being gathered in the secret place. They will be released to you as you walk, not before you step. This is the walk of faith. Each footfall will find solid ground because I am laying the path beneath you in real time. Do not look back at the smoldering ruins with regret. Those ruins are the altar where you finally surrendered your pride, and from that altar, a fragrance is rising that is precious to me. You are more powerful now in your surrender than you ever were in your self-sufficiency. I am building a structure in your life that can withstand any storm, for its foundation is not the shifting sands of the economy, but the unshakable rock of my word. You are coming out of the shadows. You are coming into the light, and this time you won't be walking alone. Observe the stillness that has settled over your workspace, the quietude that once felt like a deafening roar of failure. To your eyes, the empty chairs and the disconnected lines represent a vacuum of purpose, but to me, they are the clean slate required for a masterpiece. You have spent years defining yourself by the metrics of the marketplace, measuring your worth by the ascent of a graph or the weight of a contract. But those metrics were a cage, and the failure you mourned was actually the breaking of the lock. I watched you in those final hours when you sat at your desk with your head in your hands, the glow of the monitor illuminating the tears you thought were signs of weakness. I saw you tallying the debts and the disappointments, feeling the heavy cloak of shame wrap itself around your shoulders. But I was there in the shadow, not as a judge, but as the architect of your restoration. The why that has been screaming in your spirit is being answered even now, though not in the language of logic. It is being answered in the language of character. I am extracting the gold from the dross of your ambition. You thought you were building a kingdom, but I am building a king. You thought you were managing an enterprise, but I am seasoning a steward. Every sleepless night you spent worrying about your reputation was a night I spent preparing your heart to carry a weight of glory that your old self could never have sustained. The world sees a bankruptcy. I see a breakthrough. The world sees a closed door. I see a protected path. Do you remember the names of those who turned away when the tide went out? Do not hold bitterness against them. They were only capable of loving your shadow, the version of you that was draped in success. They are not equipped for the depth of the person you are becoming. I am clearing the field of spectators to make room for partners who will see your scars as credentials of wisdom. Look at your hands. They have been clenched tight for so long, trying to hold onto what was slipping away. Open them now. Release the grip on the what-ifs and the if-onlys. There is a specific grace for this hour that cannot be found in the days of plenty. It is the manna of the wilderness, and it is sufficient for today. Tomorrow's provision is already in motion, carried by winds you cannot yet feel. I am stirring the hearts of people you have never met, positioning them in the intersections of your future. There is a phone call coming, not from the ghost of a past creditor, but from a gatekeeper of a new territory. They will not ask for your previous balance sheet. They will ask for your story, and you will find that your voice has a resonance it never possessed before. This resonance is the sound of a soul that has been through the fire and didn't burn, but was refined. I want you to walk back into those rooms you have been avoiding. Walk past the buildings that remind you of what you lost, and instead of ducking your head, breathe in the air of the redeemed. You are not a victim of circumstance. You are a student of sovereignty. The enemy of your soul wanted to use this collapse to convince you that you are a finished man, a spent force. But I say you are a seedling that has finally shed its husk. The husk had to die for the oak to emerge. You felt the pressure of the earth pressing in on you, and you thought it was a grave. It was not a grave. It was a furrow. I have planted you in the rich soil of my faithfulness, and the nutrients of this season are soaking into the very core of your being. You will find that your appetite for the superficial has vanished. You no longer crave the applause of the crowd. You crave the peace of my presence. This shift is the greatest profit you have ever turned. I am recalibrating your intuition. Where you used to rely on data and cold calculation, you will now begin to hear the gentle nudging of my spirit. I will tell you when to turn left and when to turn right. I will show you the hidden flaws in a deal before they manifest. This is the eighth day intelligence, the wisdom that comes from resting in me while the world is frantic. You are learning that your value is not a variable. It is a constant, anchored in my love. Let the memories of the old way fade like the morning mist. The frantic pace, the hollow victories, the constant fear of being found out, those were the chains of a slave. I am dressing you in the robes of a son. Your recovery will not be a slow crawl back to where you were. It will be a leap into a dimension of influence you never dreamed possible. I am not interested in restoring your old business. I am interested in launching your new destiny. The foundations are being poured in the Spirit even as you read these words. Do you feel the warmth returning to your heart? That is the fire of a new vision. It is smaller now, like a pilot light, but it is steady and it is true. It will not consume you. It will light the way for others who are still wandering in the dark of their own failures. You will become a lighthouse for the broken-hearted entrepreneurs, for the dreamers who fell and think they cannot get up. Your story will be their map. I am even now healing the strain in your household. I see the tension that has lived in your marriage, the quiet distance that grew because you felt you had failed to provide. I am washing away the stain of that perception. I am showing your loved ones the beauty of your resilience, and I am turning your home into a sanctuary of rest rather than a theater of stress. This is not the end of your professional life. It is the end of your professional isolation. We are doing this together now. The heavy lifting is mine. Your job is to stay in step with me, neither running ahead in anxiety nor lagging behind in doubt. Trust the rhythm of the eighth day. Trust that I am the God of the second chance, the third chance, and the infinite beginning. There is a specific project I have reserved for this new version of you, a venture that will not only prosper but will bring healing to many. It is a seed currently hidden in your imagination, waiting for the rain of my timing. Don't try to force it to sprout today. Just tend to the soil of your heart. Keep it soft. Keep it open. The drought is over, though the ground still looks dry to the natural eye. The clouds are heavy with the moisture of my favor, and when they break, the transformation will be so swift it will take your breath away. You will look back on these days of ruin, and you will call them the blessed dark. For it was here that you finally found me, and in finding me, you found the real you. Do you remember the day you finally turned the key in that glass-fronted office for the last time? The silence was deafening, wasn't it? You stood in the lobby, looking at the logo on the wall, the logo you spent thousands to design, the symbol of your identity, and it felt like a tombstone. You felt as though your name had been erased from the book of the living. But I was standing there in the shadows, watching you walk away. I wasn't mourning. I was celebrating, for I knew that the heavy, gilded chains of your reputation had finally snapped. You were free, though you felt only the cold of the winter air. Now look at where you are sitting. Perhaps there is a stack of papers on your kitchen table, or perhaps your bank account balance still looks like a wound that won't stop bleeding. But look closer. Look at the way you are breathing. A year ago, your breath was shallow, caught in the back of your throat, a constant vibration of what if and not enough. Today, you are breathing from the depths of your being. You have learned the language of the low place, and you have found that the soil here is incredibly fertile. The project I am whispering to your spirit is not a repetition of your past. You are not going back to rebuild the same tower with the same cracked bricks. No, this time, we are building something that breathes. It is a venture that prioritizes the human soul over the quarterly report, yet it will have an efficiency that baffles the world because it is aligned with the laws of my kingdom. Think of that idea you had in the shower 3 mornings ago, the one you dismissed as too small or not profitable enough. That little spark is the beginning of a wildfire of restoration. It involves the very people you once overlooked, the marginalized, the broken-hearted, the ones who have also known the sting of not making it. You will create a space, both digital and physical, where the value of a person is rediscovered. You are no longer just a merchant. You are a restorer of paths to dwell in. I am bringing people into your orbit who have the resources you lack, but they are starving for the purpose you now possess. They have the gold, but you have the fire. When the two meet, it will create a light that illuminates the dark corners of your industry. Do not be afraid of the slow. In your previous life, speed was your god. You thought that if you weren't moving at the speed of light, you were standing still. But in my economy, growth is often subterranean before it is visible. Like the bamboo that grows its roots for years before shooting up 90 feet in a single season, your root system is being established in the secret place of my presence. You are learning to trust the unseen dividends. When you wake up tomorrow, I want you to look at the bills not as evidence of your failure, but as placeholders for my provision. Each one is an opportunity for me to show off. I am shifting your perspective from the scarcity of the world to the lavishness of the Father. You used to think you were the source of your own success, and that was a heavy burden to carry. Now, you know that I am the source, and you are the channel. A channel doesn't have to worry about where the water comes from. It only has to stay open and clear. I am clearing the debris of your old ego. I am washing away the silt of your former pride. The shame you feel when you run into old colleagues, the ones who still have their offices and their titles, is a lie. They are looking at your ruin and feeling pity, but if they could see the peace that surpasses understanding that is currently settling in your marrow, they would be envious. They are still on the treadmill, terrified of falling off. You have already fallen, and you found that the ground was actually my hand. There is a deep, resonant joy coming, a joy that isn't dependent on the stock market or a successful launch. It is the joy of the 8th day, the day after the week of creation is finished, the day of new beginnings that never end. You are entering a season of divine coincidences. You will find yourself in random conversations at the grocery store or the park that will provide the exact insight you need for the next step. I am orchestrating a symphony of grace around you. All you have to do is listen for the melody. Do not try to conduct the orchestra yourself. Put down the baton. Just play your part, the part of the listener, the part of the one who is loved. Your family is beginning to see the change too. They are noticing that you are there, even when you are silent. You are present in a way you never were when your mind was a hurricane of spreadsheets and strategy. This presence is the greatest gift you will ever give them. It is more valuable than any inheritance you could have built with your old company. We are mending the fabric of your home even as we prepare the blueprints for your next venture. The blessed dark is thinning now, but do not rush into the light. Savor this intimacy. Savor the fact that you know me now not just as a concept, but as the one who stayed when everyone else left. You are discovering that my favor is not a reward for your performance, but a gift for your existence. This realization is the foundation of the new business. It will be a business built on enough. You will no longer strive to prove your worth. You will work from a place of already being chosen. Can you feel the shift? Can you feel the weight of the future beginning to feel light instead of heavy? This is the weight of my glory, which is a burden that gives you wings. Your sleep is becoming sweet again. Remember the months of insomnia, the nights when the blue light of your phone was the only thing illuminating your despair. That is over. I am tucking you into the safety of my sovereignty. Think of the technology you mastered, the systems, the scaling, the data. You thought those skills were wasted because the company folded, but I was just training you for a larger map. I am going to have you use those same systems to distribute hope, to organize relief, to create pathways for the least of these to find their own footing. You will find yourself sitting across from a young man who reminds you of your younger self, ambitious, brittle, and on the verge of the same cliff you fell from. You will see the desperation in his eyes, and instead of giving him a business tip, you will give him the truth of your story. In that moment, you will realize that your failure was actually a masterclass in rescue. You will save him from the years of wandering that you endured. We are just getting started. The ruins are becoming the garden, and the garden will soon be an orchard that feeds thousands. Trust me in the pruning. It only hurts because I am removing what would have eventually killed the fruit. Remember the night you sat on the floor of your empty warehouse, the echoes of your footsteps sounding like a hollow judgment against your worth. You looked at the stack of liquidated inventory and saw only the remains of a dream that had turned to ash. But in those quiet, shadowed hours, I was beginning a new work in your spirit. I was stripping away the veneer of the entrepreneur so that I could reveal the heart of the shepherd. You see, the world measures success by the height of the skyscraper, but I measure it by the depth of the foundation. Your foundation was cracked by pride and the frantic need to prove yourself to those who never truly saw you anyway. I allowed the structure to fall not to punish you, but to protect the person you were always meant to become. Now, look at your hands. They are no longer trembling with the weight of unsustainable growth. They are steady. They are ready to hold the weight of someone else's brokenness. That young man I spoke of, the one who will sit across from you, he will notice that steadiness. He will come to you expecting a lecture on venture capital or market penetration, but instead, he will find a sanctuary. You will tell him about the day the bank called, and the day the last employee walked out, and the day you realized your identity wasn't tied to a balance sheet. You will watch the tension leave his shoulders as he realizes that failure isn't a dead end, but a detour toward a much more beautiful destination. This is the new architecture I am building through you. It is a structure made of transparency and grace. You used to optimize algorithms for profit. Now, you will optimize communities for belonging. I am giving you a new kind of vision, a peripheral sight that notices the person in the corner of the room who feels invisible. You will use your understanding of logistics to ensure that no one in your reach goes hungry, but more importantly, you will use your understanding of loss to ensure that no one feels alone in their own dark night. Do not be ashamed of the scars on your professional reputation. In my kingdom, scars are the credentials of the trusted. They are the proof that you have been through the fire and did not be consumed, only refined. Think of the peace that has slowly begun to settle in your chest during the early morning hours. It is different from the adrenaline-fueled excitement of your former life, isn't it? This peace is heavy, like a warm blanket. It is the assurance that you are finally in alignment with the rhythm of my heart. I am teaching you the art of holy inefficiency. You used to rush through every conversation, looking for the leverage, the ask. the next move. Now I am asking you to linger. I am asking you to listen to the pauses between words. I am moving you from the transactional to the transformational. Every spreadsheet you ever built, every pitch deck you ever refined, was a dress rehearsal for the work we are doing now. You thought you were building a kingdom for yourself, but I was teaching you how to manage the resources of mine. The orchard I promised you is not just a metaphor. It is the tangible result of your obedience. It will be a place where the weary find shade and the hungry find more than just food. They will find dignity. You will look back on the collapse of your first company not with a wince of pain, but with a sigh of relief. You will see that the fire burned away the chains that were keeping you tethered to a version of yourself that was never enough, no matter how much you achieved. You are enough now, in the quiet, in the recovery, and in the rebuilding. We are moving into a season where your influence will not be measured by likes or shares or quarterly reports, but by the number of people who find the courage to try again because they heard your story. Feel the weight of my hand on your shoulder as you walk into this next meeting. It isn't a boardroom you're entering, it's a mission field. The tools are the same, but the architect has changed. I am redesigning your definition of scale. We are not scaling a product, we are scaling hope. And unlike the markets of the world, this currency never devalues. It only grows the more you give it away. Be patient with the slow growth of the new seeds. A weed grows in a day, but an oak takes a lifetime. I am building an oak in you, rooted in the deep soil of my love, unshakable even when the winds of economic change howl. You are safe. You are chosen. You are being rebuilt into something that can finally hold the glory I have intended for you since the beginning. Look at your hands. They no longer tremble as they did when the final notices arrived, nor do they clench in the desperate grip of a person trying to hold back an avalanche. I have smoothed the tension from your knuckles and the frantic pulse from your wrists. You used to believe that your worth was tied to the velocity of your movement, but I am teaching you the power of standing still until the dust settles. When the collapse happened, you felt as though the sky had fallen, but it was only the ceiling of a room that had become too small for the person I am calling you to be. The shame you carried like a heavy shroud, the fear of what your peers whispered over lunches you were no longer invited to, the sting of the LinkedIn notifications that seemed to mock your silence, I am dissolving it all in the ocean of my grace. You are not a failed founder. You are a pioneer who has been stripped of his baggage so that he might climb a higher peak. Remember the quiet of that Tuesday afternoon, 3 months after the doors closed, when you sat in the park and realized the birds were still singing despite your bank balance. That was my whisper, a reminder that the ecosystem of my provision does not rely on the volatile markets of men. I was feeding you then, and I am nourishing you now, not just with bread, but with a clarity that only comes through the refining fire. As you sit across from this new partner, do not feel the need to hide your scars. Those scars are your credentials. They are the proof that you have been to the edge and returned with a wisdom that cannot be bought in any university. The world prizes the polished and the unbroken, but I prize the mended. A mended vessel has more character. It holds a story in every seam where the gold of my mercy has fused the pieces back together. When you speak now, notice the change in your tone. There is a resonance there that wasn't present when you were fueled by adrenaline and ego. You are speaking from the gut now, from the place where I have been doing the deep work. You are no longer trying to prove yourself. You are simply presenting yourself. And that, my child, is where true authority resides. I am stripping away the need for the elevator pitch and replacing it with the testimony. You are finding that people are not drawn to your previous accolades, but to the peace that radiates from you in the wake of their loss. They are looking at you and wondering how you are still standing, how your eyes can hold such light when the shadows were so long. Tell them it is because you stopped trying to build a kingdom for yourself and started becoming a citizen of mine. I see the way you look at the new spreadsheets, with caution, yes, but also with a newfound reverence for the small. Do not despise these days of humble beginnings. The large-scale dreams of your past were often hollow, built on the shifting sands of public opinion. What we are building now is dense. It is heavy with purpose. Every email you write, every hand you shake, every vision you cast for this new venture is being filtered through a new lens. Does this serve, or does this merely shine? If it only shines, it will eventually dim. But if it serves, it will endure into eternity. I am giving you a holy inefficiency. I want you to spend the extra hour listening to the technicians struggle. I want you to take the long way home to pray over the city that once felt like a battlefield. I am reclaiming your time from the thieves of urgency and optimization. You are learning that the most productive thing you can do is to remain in alignment with my spirit. When you are aligned, the doors do not need to be kicked down. They swing open on the hinges of my favor. You felt like a ghost in your own life for a while, wandering through the ruins of what used to be your daily routine. But look closer. In the cracks of that broken concrete, new life is surging. These are not the weeds of neglect. They are the wildflowers of a new season. I am reintroducing you to your family, to your health, and to the version of yourself that knew how to laugh before the growth at all costs mindset took your breath away. Do you remember the joy of simply creating for the sake of creation? Before the metrics, before the exit strategy, I am bringing you back to that garden. I am restoring the years the locusts have eaten, but I am not restoring them in the way you expect. I am not just giving you back the money. I am giving you back the capacity to enjoy it without being enslaved by it. I am giving you back a heart that can sleep through the night because it knows the watchman never slumbers. This next phase will require a different kind of courage. It is the courage to be vulnerable, to admit that the old way nearly broke you, and to insist on a new way that honors the soul over the bottom line. You will be tempted to revert to the old patterns when the pressure mounts, to switch back into the hustle that ignores the Sabbath. But when you feel that tug, listen for my voice in the stillness. I will remind you that I am your source. The investors are not your source. The customers are not your source. I am, and my resources are not subject to inflation or scarcity. I am opening the storehouses of heaven for you, but the currency I am releasing is wisdom, favor, and divine timing. You will find yourself in the right rooms at the right moments, saying the exact words that unlock hearts. You will realize that the failure was not a detour. It was the training ground. You were learning the language of the broken so that you could eventually lead them. Do not rush the architecture of this new life. Let the mortar dry. Let the foundation settle. We are building for the generations now, not just for the next fiscal year. Your legacy will not be a tombstone with a net worth engraved upon it. It will be a living forest of people who learned how to thrive in the desert because they followed the trail you blazed through your own recovery. The silence that follows a great collapse is not the silence of the grave. It is the silence of the womb. You have been mourning the death of a dream, but I have been preparing the nursery for a purpose. Think back to the morning you couldn't find the strength to open your laptop. You felt the weight of 1,000 expectations, the ghosts of board members and the whispers of creditors. I saw the way you hid your face in your hands, the way your breath hitched as you looked at the spreadsheet that didn't add up. In that moment of absolute insolvency, you were closer to me than you ever were at the height of your IPO. Wealth can be a veil, but poverty of spirit is a window. I am cleaning that window. You have spent years curating a version of yourself that was unshakable, a polished granite statue of competence. But granite cannot breathe. Granite cannot grow. I am breaking the stone to find the flesh beneath. You worry about your reputation, about what they are saying in the coffee shops and the professional threads. Let them speak. Their words are wind, and you are becoming a mountain. Do you remember the small sketchbook you tucked away in a drawer 7 years ago? The one filled with the ideas you called unrealistic because they didn't have an immediate return on investment. Go find it. Those ideas weren't distractions. They were blueprints I whispered to you before the noise of the world drowned me out. I am bringing back the unrealistic things. I am sanctifying your imagination. Notice the way your children look at you now. Before, you were a provider who was physically present but emotionally a continent away. Now, even in your struggle, you are noticing the color of their eyes, the cadence of their laughter. This is the first harvest of your failure. You are being returned to the things that are eternal. I am not interested in your efficiency. I am interested in your intimacy. We are going to walk through the ruins of your old company together, and I will show you that even in the debris there are treasures you missed. Each mistake you made is a brick for the new house. That bad hire, it taught you discernment. That overextension of credit, it taught you the value of margin. That betrayal by your partner, it taught you that your security must be anchored in the unchanging one. You are not starting over, you are starting from experience. And this time, you are not carrying the burden alone. I am the senior partner. I am the chief architect. I am the one who owns the cattle on 1,000 hills and the ideas in 1,000,000 minds. When you wake up tomorrow, do not reach for your phone first. Reach for the stillness. Let the first thought be, I am loved, not I am behind. You cannot be behind in a race you have already won. The victory was never about the market share. It was about your heart's surrender. I am smoothing the jagged edges of your ambition until it becomes an instrument of service. You will lead again, but you will lead with a limp, and that limp will be your greatest credential. It will tell the world that you have wrestled with God and survived. It will give others the permission to be human. Watch as I bring people into your life who need your specific brand of brokenness. You will see the light go on in their eyes when you tell them your story, not the sanitized version, but the raw, honest truth. This is how the living forest grows, one seed of honesty at a time. Do not be ashamed of the season of pruning. The vine that is cut back the hardest produces the sweetest grape. I am preparing a vintage in you that will sustain many in the years to come. I see you standing in the grocery store aisle, checking the prices of things you used to buy without a second thought. Do not let that pinch make you feel small. It is a reminder of the daily bread I provide. It is a classroom where you are learning the value of the enough. You used to dream of more, but I am teaching you the miracle of sufficient. There is a peace in enough that more can never offer. More is a treadmill, enough is a soft chair. Sit with me in the enough for a while. Let the fever of acquisition break. I am healing the frantic pulse that told you your survival depended on your performance. It never did. You were held then, and you are held now. Even when the bank accounts were full, it was my hand that kept the earth spinning beneath your feet. Now that the accounts are low, my hand has not moved. I am stripping away the false safety nets so that you can finally feel the solid rock. You will find that the rock is much more comfortable than the nets ever were. There is a specific person I am bringing across your path next week. They won't look like an investor or a client. They will look like a person in need, perhaps someone even more discouraged than you feel. Do not turn away because you feel you have nothing to give. Your presence is your gift. Your empathy is your capital. When you pour out of your emptiness, I will fill the vessel from the bottom up. This is the mystery of the kingdom. The more you give away of your soul's treasure, the more the storehouses of heaven expand. You are becoming a person who can handle true wealth because you no longer worship it. You are becoming a steward, not an owner. An owner is always anxious about loss. A steward is always curious about how to deploy the master's resources. Breathe. Can you feel the air in your lungs? That air is a gift. The fact that you are still here means your purpose is still intact. The company died, but you did not. The title vanished, but your identity remains hidden in me. I am rebuilding your confidence on a foundation that cannot be shaken by a recession or a bad quarter. I am giving you a new name, not the one who failed, but the one who was redeemed. Carry that name into the meetings that are coming. Wear it like a cloak of favor. You will notice that people are drawn to you not because of your resume, but because of your resonance. There is a frequency of grace that hums around a person who has been through the fire and didn't come out smelling like smoke. You are that person. The fire didn't consume you. It only burned away the ropes that were binding you to a smaller version of yourself. Now, walk out of the furnace. The air is cool, and the morning is breaking. We have much to discuss in the light. Look at your hands. They are no longer white-knuckled from gripping a steering wheel that was spinning out of control. I have gently loosened your fingers, one by one, so that you might finally be empty-handed enough to receive what I have been trying to give you for years. You remember the day the locks were changed on the main entrance, don't you? You stood in the parking lot, the asphalt radiating a heat that mirrored the shame burning in your chest. You thought it was the end of your story, a final, cold period at the end of a failed sentence. But to me, it was merely a comma. It was a strategic pause. You were exhausted from playing the role of the infallible architect, the one who had to have every answer for every investor, every solution for every disgruntled client. That mask was heavy, wasn't it? It was a beautiful, gilded weight that was slowly crushing the life out of your spirit. Now that the mask has been shattered, you can breathe the unfiltered air of honesty. I watched you in that final board meeting, the way your voice trembled when you admitted the numbers didn't add up. I saw the way you tucked your pride into your worn briefcase and walked out into the sudden silence of a Tuesday afternoon. I was there in the silence. I was the one who met you at the car. You felt a strange, terrifying lightness. That was the weight of the world falling off your shoulders and onto mine. Do not look back at the empty desks and the disconnected phone lines with a sense of mourning. Those things were the scaffolding, not the building. The building is you. I am the master builder, and I do not lose interest in my projects just because a temporary structure collapses. I am looking at the blueprints of your heart, and I see rooms that have never been opened, windows that were boarded up by the frantic pace of your previous life. We are going to open them now. Do you see the yellow legal pad sitting on your kitchen table? The one you haven't touched because you feel your ideas are tainted by the bankruptcy label. Pick it up. The ink has not dried up, and neither has your creativity. The ideas I whispered to you in the middle of the night, the ones you dismissed because they didn't fit into a 3-year growth projection, they are still there. They are seeds that require the soil of humility to germinate. You are in that soil now. It feels dark, it feels heavy, and it feels like you've been buried. But you haven't been buried, you've been planted. There is a vast difference. A burial is an end, but a planting is a beginning. I am watering you with a peace that surpasses your current understanding. You keep checking your phone, waiting for the notification of a crisis, waiting for the other shoe to drop, waiting for the next legal notice or the next debt collector. I am silencing those alarms. I am putting a hedge around your mind, so that the what-ifs of the past cannot trespass into the what-is of the present. Do you remember the employee you had to let go? The one you worried about late into the night? I am caring for them. Your failure did not derail my providence for their lives, just as it did not disqualify you from my favor. Stop carrying the weight of the universe. It was never your burden to bear. I want you to look at the sunrise tomorrow not as a deadline to be met, but as an invitation to be known. We are going to build something new, but we are going to do it differently this time. We will not use the straw of vanity or the brittle bricks of comparison. We will build with the stones of integrity and the mortar of compassion. You will find that your new venture will not be fueled by the adrenaline of fear, but by the steady, rhythmic pulse of my grace. There is a frequency of wisdom that only those who have lost everything can tune into. You are finally on that wavelength. Can you hear it? It is the sound of a deep, resonant joy that doesn't depend on a profit and loss statement. It is the joy of being fully known and yet fully loved, of being completely broken and yet entirely whole. Sit with me in this space for a while longer. The world is rushing by, obsessed with the hustle and the grind, but I am calling you to the rest and the restore. Your resume is being rewritten in the heavens, and the first line no longer mentions your previous title. It simply says, Child of the King. That is the only credential you will need for the doors I am about to open. Do you feel that slight quickening in your chest? That isn't anxiety, that is the first stirrings of a new vision. It is the holy momentum. Let it grow slowly. We are not in a hurry. The seasons move at my command, and right now it is the season of deep rooting. Before the fruit, before the blossom, there must be the anchor. I am your anchor. Rest your weary head against the truth that I am not disappointed in you. I am proud of the way you didn't turn bitter when the world turned cold. I am moved by the way you still choose to believe in me even when you can't see the path ahead. The light is growing stronger now, illuminating the corners of your life you thought were lost. There are treasures hidden in this darkness, riches of secret places that the wealthy in spirit only find when they have been stripped of the superficial. I have so much more to show you in the quiet of this morning. Look around this room, not with the eyes that count your losses, but with the heart that counts my promises. I saw you in the fluorescent hum of that final night at the office, the way your hand trembled as you turned the key in a lock that would no longer be yours. I saw the stacks of cardboard boxes that held the fragments of your ambition, the files and the ledgers that seemed to scream of a legacy cut short. You felt like a ghost in your own life, walking through corridors of what if and if only. But I was there, standing in the shadows of those empty hallways, gathering every tear you refused to let fall in front of your employees. I was there when you sat in your car in the parking lot, the engine cold, the silence deafening, feeling the weight of 1,000 expectations crushing your chest. You thought the silence was my absence, but it was actually my protection. I was silencing the noise of the world so that you could finally hear the rhythm of my heart beating for you. You worry about the ledgers that do not balance and the debts that shadow your name, but I am the God of the great exchange. I am trading your ashes for a beauty that does not wither under economic shifts or market crashes. The world taught you to value yourself by the height of the skyscrapers you could build, but I value you by the depth of the valley you can walk through without letting go of my hand. Think back to the meetings where your voice was the loudest, where the adrenaline of the deal felt like life itself. I loved you then, but I love you more in this stillness, where you have nothing to offer me but your brokenness. It is through these cracks that the true gold, the incorruptible substance of my character, is beginning to flow. You are being refined, not as a businessman who survives, but as a son who thrives in a kingdom that cannot be shaken. Do you remember the specific fear that gripped you when you had to sign those final papers? The way the ink felt like a condemnation. I want you to take that memory and lay it at my feet. That signature did not sign away your future. It only signed away a version of your life that was too small for what I have planned. You were building a garden in a pot, and I am moving you into a field. The confinement was stifling your roots. I had to break the vessel to set the plant free. I know the sting of the gossip, the sideways glances from peers who only see the outward collapse. They see a shuttered business. I see a soul under renovation. They see a failure. I see a pioneer preparing for a territory they cannot yet perceive. I am resetting the internal compass of your worth. You are not what you do. You are not what you earn. You are not the sum of your strategic successes or your tactical errors. You are the one I gave everything for, the one whose name is engraved upon my palms. There is a specific grace I am pouring out now for the middle of the night, for those hours when the why questions circle like vultures. When those thoughts come, I want you to visualize the way a master weaver works. From the back, the tapestry looks like a chaotic mess of knotted threads and clashing colors. It looks like a mistake, but I am the one at the loom, and I am pulling the dark threads of this failure through the gold threads of my providence. I am creating a pattern of resilience that will serve as a map for others who will find themselves in this same wilderness. Your recovery will not just be a financial restoration, it will be a spiritual revolution. I am teaching you a new language, the language of enough. You are learning that my manna falls daily, and you do not need to hoard the future to be safe in the present. I want you to think about the people you thought you lost when the status faded. I am pruning your circle as much as I am pruning your spirit. Those who walked away were only spectators of your success. Those who remain are the witnesses of your transformation. I am surrounding you with a new kind of counsel, not those who only understand profit margins, but those who understand the margins of the soul where I do my greatest work. We are building a new architecture for your life, one that is not built on the shifting sands of public opinion, but on the bedrock of my unchanging nature. Can you feel the shift? It is subtle, like the turning of the tide in the deep ocean. The water is beginning to rise again, but this time it is not the frantic flood of overextension. It is the steady, rhythmic swell of my favor. I am restoring the years the locusts have eaten, but I am doing it by giving you a harvest that the world cannot quantify. I am giving you a peace that passes understanding, a peace that will stay with you even when the spreadsheets are blank. We are going to walk back into the marketplace eventually, but you will walk there as a man who is already full, a man who does not need the deal to define him, because he is already defined by the King. I am washing away the grime of the hustle and replacing it with the dignity of the call. There is a work I have for you that only a man who has lost everything can perform, because only such a man knows that I am everything. Stay here with me in this soft morning light. Let the shame dissolve like mist. You are not starting over. You are starting from a place of profound intimacy that you never would have found on the mountaintop.